all you lovely people who are doing dispatch training. If you don't already have access to our Google Doc that says Corona responses, can you DM me if you know how to do that? And if you don't know how to do that, you can say so on this voice channel. We have a Google Doc that is called Corona responses. If you've already been added to the dispatch role, then it's available in the dispatch channel. And I had emailed it to some of you, but I know a lot of you do not have it yet. So I need to figure out who I need to send that link to. We are about 90 people short or behind on our dispatch list. So that was why we kind of put out a big push. We do want to make sure that everyone gets contacted pretty promptly. That said, if we can get through those names, we might also have need for drivers or like food prep at some point. So just know that like just because you're doing dispatch now doesn't mean that you always have to do dispatch, but that's always going to be the biggest need. A few people have mentioned that just that things are changing really quickly, and even the people like me and Liam and Nick and CV, like we've been doing this for like 3 days, like maybe 4. So it's all like very, very new. I think a lot of you have some really important skills, and I would just say that like part of the reason things are changing is because the world is changing really fast, but also because a lot of folks have been adding a lot of really good insight and wisdom. So I think especially if you've done case management or call dispatch or anything like that, and you have suggestions for how to make this better, people are totally open to that. So maybe just like a quick overview on like what it means to be a dispatcher. Essentially what we're doing is responding to the people who have submitted that form for requests for like support, and doing our best to figure out like what their whole situation is, directing them to resources that already exist in the community, and then tapping them into some of the specific things that GDC can offer. So I think, and I'll explain some of that when we get there, of like what that is right now. That does change pretty frequently. So if everybody could open our Google Doc, I'll just do a run through of what is happening on all the different tabs. So that first
tab... Could you say the title of the Google Doc?
Yeah, it's called Corona Responses Dispatch.
And you find that pinned to the dispatch channel in the upper right corner, in the pin icon?
Okay, so this first page called Aid Requests, that is just automatically populated from the survey form that's going out. So we don't have a ton of information. We're getting people's names, some kind of contact information, an overview of the kind of support they need, and then people are providing different amounts of details in that notes section. The second page is our contact notes. So this is where we're doing most of our work. And I'm going to overly explain this to you so that we can walk through it pretty slowly. I think you're all very intelligent and can figure it out, but just so we're all here together. The name section is getting pulled over from the first page, so that's getting automatically populated. Please don't add, edit, delete the names at all, because there's a, Jacqueline did some coding to make sure that that goes through. Then we have their email, phone number, whether they're open to texting, an overview of what their needs are. So FD, there's a key at the top. FD is food delivery. ERA is eviction rent assistance, which we need to adapt that language a little bit. MA is medical assistance, and ES is emotional support. Then we have their address. So that's only for like if we're doing deliveries to folks, we would ask for that information. Their PayPal or Venmo information if we're sending them money directly. Dietary considerations if we are providing pre-made food or doing groceries. Medical, a lot of that is for like, are you at high risk of getting pneumonia, or what's like an overview of your medical situation. As you can see, a lot of those have been pretty empty at this point. Most folks that we've been talking to are healthy, they're just out of work. Not just, but you know what I mean. Then you have the dispatcher that people are assigning to themselves. So once you have signed up to call somebody, that is your person. Like, that's your case. So you follow that through to the end. The next column is who it's being dispatched to. So that's for things like deliveries. So if you're looking at the very top, like Anthony had actually dispatched to himself, which is a possibility. And then if you scroll down a little bit, like I had dispatched to Anthony. Anthony's done a lot of deliveries, as you can see, but it's not the only one. Like Megan, Rowan, Wilbur, yeah, plenty of folks. And we've been writing down the date of our first contact, the type, some general notes, and then that just kind of keeps going. So like second contact, you can see that it's color coded. White means that they haven't been successfully contacted. So either they've never been contacted or we haven't heard back from them. So there are people who we've like left voicemails with and haven't heard back, or we've left an email. We're trying to follow up with everybody at least 2 times, but also recognizing that if we can't get in touch with somebody, then we're just going to keep moving down the list. Yellow is that they've been contacted, but the request hasn't been fulfilled. Light purple is there's been a delivery scheduled, and if that's the case, please make sure that you've written down who it's been dispatched to so we know. Blue is partially fulfilled, so that might be like we're doing 2 things at once. So maybe they wanted to get directed to medical support and they wanted a food delivery, and so we were able to direct them to medical support, but we're waiting on the food delivery part. And then green is request fulfilled. So that's like ideally what we want to get everything to is that green. The orange is for urgent or severe need. So one example of that is we haven't been giving money for rent because we're really doing this on kind of like a very immediate situation, and rent usually isn't due for folks until April 1st, which is a couple weeks out, and we're hoping that some things change by then. But if you're talking to somebody who is at severe risk, or like if we do get more money, we would want to send it to them, then flag that. The pink is that we've tried contacting them 3 times and we haven't been able to get in touch with them, in which case we're just saying we're going to move on. Red is for there's no contact information. And then dark gray is they've sent in a duplicate request. So we have had people submit the form a couple times partially because they haven't been contacted back, and I think they're just worried that it didn't go through. Or sometimes they like submit one and then they realize they didn't leave their contact information, so they do it again. And so we're just color coding it that way rather than deleting it, because deleting it like ruins the coding to transfer the names over. Yeah, so this 3rd page is questions and next steps. It's kind of like a script walkthrough of how we've been doing things and how we're kind of like prioritizing what the steps are. So that first section is general talking points. If you look on line 4, the link to a really great resource guide. And so I tend to keep that open all the time when I'm doing these calls. We've included some of those like relevant information directly in the sheet, but sometimes you get somebody who's calling about like pets. And so you can just like find the pet information on that resource sheet, and that's been really helpful. There's some information in there about different like free internet programs. There's links to stuff for babies, like lots of great resources. And that's getting updated like every couple of hours. And that's just being run by somebody else in the community, like again, like a pretty random person who's just like stepping in. So we're focusing our efforts for now on Madison and Dane County. There is a link to other mutual aid groups on line 6. We just added this reminder that people might want to apply or request absentee voting. The deadline is tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And so while we have people on the phone, we might as well remind them to do that. And then, so I would say that one of the cool things about doing this through a mutual aid group and not through a nonprofit and not through the government is that you get to have this really cool like person-to-person contact. So I don't usually go in and be like, like super sterile about it. Try to at first like provide some really real empathy and like, yeah, the situation is super fucked up and we're all doing our best. And like if someone mentions that they're sick, right, you'd be like, wow, I'm very sorry to hear that. So I would encourage folks to like kind of feel out the call. You don't necessarily have to jump like right into like question number 1, like, can you give us a basic overview of your food situation? Question number 2. So it's not like a form. These are just some like guided questions and like a direction for how that conversation might go. If it feels better to you to like follow that script, by all means, like go for it. But we've been pretty like informal, I think, for the most part. We're going to go on to page 4, the resources and FAQ for dispatch. On the top left are some of the like highlights of resources that we've been able to share. Like, people will not get evicted, utilities will not get shut off during the health emergency. That's the plan right now. People can apply for unemployment through the state. We're encouraging folks to directly contact MG&E and their landlords about payment plans or rental forgiveness, stuff like that. Over to the right, there are some quick reference URLs. So there's that resource document that I mentioned. There's a link to a virtual tip jar. So if people mention that they were a bartender or a server or something, you can recommend that they go fill out their information on that. That's been especially relevant in terms of unemployment, because if they apply for unemployment, it seems like what happens is that they only get the amount that they've been reporting on their taxes, which is probably lower than what they're actually getting.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. And then that last one is just like a really broad mutual aid form, an open source document. So people in the community have been posting their offers and requests. If you scroll down to some FAQ, how much money can we offer? We have a pretty hard cap on it. Well, that's not true. We're trying to basically cap at $100. There's been some flexibility in that, but I've almost never gone over that. So we are able to give out direct money, like cash assistance for folks. Again, not for rent. We are trying to prioritize immediate needs. So people who don't have food today, who can't get to work because they don't have gas, is more urgent than rent at this point. Basically, everybody is worried about rent. Basically, everybody is worried about utilities.
Yeah.
And so we're just kind of hoping that some of like, there's some federal bills and state bills, and then a few $100,000 at local nonprofits, and we're hoping some of that kicks in. But at this point, like, things are changing so fast, and that's 2 weeks out. And then prioritizing connecting people to existing resources in the community. So if folks are saying like, yeah, my kids are home and I don't know what to do, you could check with them, like, do you have internet at home? And if not, there's free internet right now for up to 60 days. So just connecting out to stuff like that as much as possible, making sure people know about emails through the schools. And then this is a list of some of the stuff that GDC can currently offer right now. So this would be prepared food dropped off at their house. So there is a team of people who are prepping food. There's usually at least like a vegan option, and then like a meat option, sometimes more than that, like sometimes more like variety beyond that. We could pick up groceries that they buy. So some people are just like being quarantined, or they have like multiple kids they can't take to a store. And so they could Venmo us. We could pick up groceries and drop it off at their house. We could drop off some groceries, so we've been starting to buy that in bulk. So we could drop that off with folks. We could help with some limited transportation. So like if somebody needs to get to like an MMSD food delivery site, we can probably help with that. Medical support, and what that means is just somebody would call them and kind of do like a medical assessment over the phone at this point, although I think that that's probably going to keep changing pretty quickly as the situation changes. And then emotional support. So like if folks are feeling really panicked and just want someone to talk to, it's a good option. Then there's links to how to do financial contributions. And then if someone's situation is really bad, use your best judgment. So like if somebody needs like $117, like that's probably fine. Go for it. If you think somebody like really needs 200, maybe just like check in with the dispatch team or with moderators about what our capacity is right now. Okay, I'm gonna pause again, and then we're gonna kind of do like a walkthrough of a call. Does anybody have questions or any like pep talks at this point?
I have a question. I know we have that finances sheet that shows like how much money we've raised and distributed. Is that something that dispatch people are updating, or is it automatically updating via spreadsheet code or something?
So Eric and I have been updating that. I think we're currently the only ones who can update it, not even by virtue of anything in particular. It was just because I created it, and then he was like, "Oh, let me help you with that." So I'm happy to also open that up to other people. Yeah, I would say that it's kind of rough and dirty at the moment because it's like whenever I'm doing my Venmo, I'm not necessarily doing it every single time, so there's a time delay sometimes of like a couple hours between when I actually input what has happened. And then with the food, I'm kind of guesstimating how many servings of not individual servings. It's like how many containers of 3 servings basically we're sending out. So like how many individual people are we feeding for a couple days? And so that number is kind of a little bit estimated because it's like not all these containers are the same shape or the same volume. So I would say like if the IRS audited us, which would never happen, I'm just saying, if we had to like seriously break down what we had done, I would say that this sheet is accurate enough, but it's like not.
So for folks who are unfamiliar, there's the Google Doc out there that has some information on like how much money have we brought in, how much money has been going out. I have not been editing that through dispatch. I think it's mostly just for like kind of, I don't know, like proving that we should like be getting more money or something, or kind of just being like a fuck you to like systems that aren't doing anything, but we're like getting shit done. So great. Okay, are we ready for a little walkthrough of a call?
Have a couple of questions. Do any of us make updates to some of the information on this sheet? Because like the top resources, I'm pretty sure I just read today, line 5, UW Credit Union offers loans to 2,500, but I think Summit is offering loans up to 5,000 as well. And then the voting deadline is a little bit more nuanced than what's in here. So there's actually more time to get an absentee ballot than tomorrow. But you do have to make sure that you have all your, that you're registered. So anyway, just wondering if any of us update that, or if there's somebody that's like these resources and facts like that are assigned to somebody watching those things.
As of right now, they haven't been assigned to anybody, and they should be. I think anybody can edit it. So I think that's great if you have more information to share. Just try not to like delete anything that's there without kind of checking in with dispatch, I guess, unless you know that it's no longer relevant. But adding stuff or like clarifying would be awesome.
A quick thing. All dispatchers should be, and then anyone who that they have a certain background, really a variety of different skill areas, should be added to the service providers, which is like not the best name for it, but whatever. The service provider channel is one place where we find things like that. We can add that, or as people who are more embedded in a certain industry or niche area find out things to share it or ask questions, or if we say all these things about these different resources and someone still thinks they have a question about housing, there are the people who housing and advocacy and stuff like that in that channel. So that found out something like that's some thing, but also I would refer to Rachel on whether or not people can edit that, but I think good place to aggregate things and ask questions.
Awesome. Yeah, those are really good suggestions. Okay, I'm gonna do a walkthrough. So we're going into our contact notes page, that second tab, and we're scrolling down to find like a white line that doesn't have an assigned dispatcher. So the first one that I'm seeing is Shantae Hawkins, which is line 152. So I'm just gonna put example. I would go ahead and like immediately write my name so that other dispatchers aren't, because we're all going on this document at the same time. So I would immediately write my name down as kind of like dibs, like I'm gonna talk with this person. And then what I like to do is go in the first tab under aid requests and find Shantae, and just get like a little bit an idea of what's going on so that when I talk to her, I'm not making her repeat stuff unnecessarily. So she's saying I'm a self-employed hairstylist, both my children are out of school. So I'm unable to work.
Can you tell me
which is a really
Can you tell me what line you're on in there?
154. Yeah. So I just did Control F for find, and then I found her name. Get like an overall idea of what's going on. So this one I think is tricky because she, as far as I know at this point, can't apply for unemployment because she hasn't lost her job. She's lost basically childcare, and childcare is sort of non-existent at this point. So this is like a really common situation, unfortunately, for a lot of people. At this point, I would probably just go ahead and call her, partially because, like, at this point, I'm fairly familiar with resources. Document, if you have not looked through it, I would just at least do, like, kind of a scroll through of that resource document that we've been looking at that says, like, Madison Resources for Impacts of COVID, to at least get an idea of how to search for stuff or what kinds of things are on there. So I would go ahead and call her. I would write down the date for like 3/17. And then if you want to start with that third tab of like questions and next steps and keep that open on your call, that might be helpful. So I would call her, and let's say she doesn't pick up. So if you go to the very bottom of this page, there's a voicemail template. It's like super basic. So I'd say, "Hi, Shantae, my name is Rachel. I'm calling because you had filled out a form online for mutual aid. If you call me back, my number is blank." And then under that contact notes page, I would write down type voicemail, and then I would leave it white, right? Because I have not successfully been able to contact her. So then I would go down to the next person, Allison, and go ahead and write my name down again. Find her on the first page, aid request. She's number 155, line 155. And she's looking for food and meal delivery, housing, utilities help, but doesn't have any details about what's going on. So I go ahead and call her. I say, "Hey, Allison." Let's say she picks up. "Hey, Allison, my name's Rachel. I'm calling because you had filled out a form online for mutual aid." And she's like, "Yeah." And then I may be like, "Yeah, we're really trying to figure this stuff out. It's been like such a mess for everybody. How are you doing?" And then kind of like go from there in terms of some of these talking points. So you can say like, "Hey, I'm calling. I'm with a group of volunteers in the community. We're trying to coordinate these mutual aid responses. We're doing our best, and I wanted to call you and just get some more information about your situation and try to help out as best I can." And then I would just say, like, kind of feel out what's going on. If she had mentioned, right, that she wants food delivery, we can go through some of those food and supply delivery requests. So, like, what's happening with your food situation right now? Have you been using any of the food pantries? Make sure she knows about them. We can offer some delivery. We can offer delivery of some supplies, prepared foods, which option works best for you? And then So I'm on page 3. I'm sorry if this is confusing. I'm on page 3. I'm looking at line 14. This is new. So there is now a supplies inventory in the Google Doc. And so people who are doing food prep and grocery buying and supplies inventory are going to start putting everything on there of like what supplies they have on site, what prepped food is available and like what type of food it is or what's in it, whether it's like vegan. So actually right now, the majority of these are vegan, which is great. Then we can put down requests for supply needs. And yeah.
So we can.
Okay,
Sorry.
so you're on a call with somebody. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so we can, if we know that we've been getting a lot of people requesting, say, Pepperidge Farm goldfish, we can put down on the supply list unneeded that we should get some goldfish or we should get some child-friendly snacks.
I think go ahead and write it down, and then if you could put your name in parentheses so they know who added it.
Okay.
That would probably be helpful. This is like really, really new that we're doing this supplies inventory as a Google Doc. So I think this is going to be something that kind of changes as we go along.
Okay.
But to me, that makes sense. Like, yeah, go ahead and write kid snacks and then parentheses your name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Can I ask a clarifying question about this? So if we have families who are asking for specific grocery items and they're not on the supplies list, should we instead of how we were doing before, we would say that we could get them to go to the grocery store for them and deliver, should we instead tell them that we can add it to the supplies list and we'll see when we can get it to them, or how are we handling that now?
Yeah, so previously we had been saying like, yeah, we can go to the grocery store and like send us a list of what you want. But we were trying to be more careful now about like social distancing and having like not tons of people like running in and out of grocery stores more than we needed to. And so that's why we've switched to this, which is having like pretty standard food supplies on site, and then saying we can provide you some groceries such as like bread, peanut butter, apples, milk, so I would not offer to go grocery shopping for people, just say like we can provide some basic groceries, and like explain, right, we've been doing bulk buying, we're trying to limit contact, like these are some of the things that we have. If you are talking to somebody who has like really severe allergies or very specific dietary restrictions, we can accommodate that, I think, to some extent right now. But I wouldn't, like, we're kind of trying to avoid that as much as possible. If that makes sense. And I don't want to promise either that we're going to be able to get anything that people want. So, so I would just say, like, we can either do delivery of prepared food, like we have vegan options, gluten-free options, or a drop-off of some basic groceries. Which one of those is better for you? And if at that point, if they're like, oh, like, do you have goldfish? You like just say like, no, we don't right now. But then, like, don't make a promise. Just add it then to the supply request.
We can get it.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has like a better suggestion on how to handle that, that would be great. But that's what makes the most sense to me right now.
Okay.
I feel like if it's something like formula or, like something that's specific, not interchangeable with other things, one thing, but if they're like, I want goldfish and
they can have chips, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say, having been on a few of these deliveries, people are pretty, are like understandable about what like our capacities are, and so I think the theme of like managing expectations are really important, like Rachel suggests. I'd also say if you point them in the direction of prepared food, I've been quite actually pleasantly surprised on how pulled towards the prepared foods versus the the sort of dry goods or groceries that people have been, and we've gotten a lot of really like positive feedback from folks who are getting that prepared food. It's likely we're probably going to see an influx of prepared food tomorrow as we tap in some of our volunteer reserves, which Liam and I are going to be working on tonight. So I think that we'll probably have more prepared food options soon as well.
So I think I missed something. I see the supplies inventory sheet, but you said there was also a place to write if somebody had a specific request, and we can just put it in there for future FYI, like goldfish. Where is that we're supposed to write?
Yeah, so that's on the third tab that says common supply needs. So I would put that under shelf stable food.
Okay.
Right, like goldfish, your name. If anyone else is looking at that as I'm typing it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. I totally forgot where we were on this like fake call. Okay. All right, so we're going back to Corona response doc. Don't worry, your calls won't actually like feel this complicated when you're on them. It's just because we're like pausing and explaining a lot of stuff.
So
it's really not bad.
I have another question. With the supplies inventory, so is it the people who are delivering that then once the delivery is done, they come and they update this, or how do we make sure that real time this is the inventory we're looking at when we're on the phone with someone, that it's not like somewhere in process of the 2 disinfectant wipes are about to be gone, but they see right here that they're there, so we say we have them, or we think we have them. I guess I'm just wondering when and how does this inventory get updated? Sorry if I missed that.
Yeah, it's getting updated pretty frequently. I think that's why I've been using Google Docs, is because it's automatic. If you are looking at something like there's only literally one of them, it is possible that somebody else could be on a call at the same time. And so you could just say like, yeah, it looks like we're able to send you some laundry detergent. So don't say it as like a total promise, but say like, yeah, we should be able to do that, or like, I think we're able to do that right now. And then if anything happens, you can just call that person back and be like, hey, just want to let you know, like, we actually ran out. If we get more, I can try to get that to you or something.
Okay, but like if I say it looks like we have one available, at what point between when I say that and it actually gets to the person would this be updated? Is it after delivery?
No, I think it's like once it gets picked up or has been called dibs on. And I will say, like, yeah, we haven't really used the supply inventory yet. We're figuring stuff out. I don't necessarily have great answers. So let's pretend that you're on the phone, right? And you're like, okay, you need laundry detergent and there's one of them. And we also want to get you some fresh food. So then I usually hang up my calls and I say like, great, like this is what we're planning to do. You have my number if you need anything. I like leaving it open that way, and that way, because we're juggling like a lot of stuff. So I just don't want anything to get dropped. I think I've had a couple people just like check in and be like, hey, I haven't gotten this thing yet. And I'm like, great, let's figure this out. Which I think is better than folks falling through the cracks. So let's say you're gonna do like some fresh food dropped off, and some laundry detergent. I'm hoping that all of you have been added as dispatch in that role, so you can see a bunch of channels over in Discord. So we're gonna look at Discord real quick. So if you look on the supplies channel, there's an example from Adria. Adria did like at supplies dispatch request, 1 jar of peanut butter, 6 oranges, 6 apples for family, and you could make it specific like that, or you could say like, looking for groceries and laundry detergent, like groceries for a family of 4 and laundry detergent. Thumbs up if we're good or something. So make sure that there's some way of people on the supplies channel confirming that they got it or that they have it and you're all set. If you have the supplies ready to go, like if you've confirmed that you have them there, then you go into the delivery coordination. A good example. Yeah, so Evie did a great one. Looks like, so Evie did like at delivery, so it tags all the delivery people. Dispatch requests for meals and grocery basics to be delivered to a family of 5 at Northport Drive. Thumbs up if you can do it and DM me for details. So we're trying to use that basic format, and that is also in the our Google Doc of notes. So you want to say like basically what your dispatch is for, like whether it's like picking up groceries or whether it's like dropping off food or whatever. And then the area of town that it's in. So like whether it's in Sun Prairie or Fitchburg or on the east side or west side. But don't write a specific address on there. And then you always want to end it with thumbs up if you can do it and DM me for details. And so then one of the delivery team people will thumbs up your post, and that way everybody knows it's been taken care of. And they will send you a direct message via Discord. And then you would say, like, hey, thanks so much, right? Look, here's the address. They need like 5 vegan meals. Please throw in this. And the family will be home anytime tomorrow. They said you could stop by whenever works for you. Or like, or you might say like, they're kind of in and out. Can you like text this number to coordinate a time directly with them? And I always ask the person on the call, like, what's the best way to coordinate that? So that's one of the questions on there. Is what's the best way to coordinate? Okay, I'm gonna pause. Does that help as like a basic run through? So
can you say just?
Yeah. So let's see. I think I put it down at the bottom of. Yeah. So page 3. If you scroll down line 39, it says what to do. So number 1, identify your person, add your name, look up the info, search for resources in advance, call or email using the prompts, take notes, post dispatch requests, and I think, yeah, I'll maybe add on there so that it's more clear. But you should make sure that you have the supplies before you have a delivery set up. So go into the supplies channel and be like, I'm looking for these supplies. Once you have them, then post in the delivery coordination.
Clarifying question, should we go to the supplies channel or the food security channel?
I think we're switching it over to supplies because all the food security people, I think, are doing the food prep. Okay. And then it's becoming a supply once it's prepped. Okay. I think that's what's happening right now.
So there is a message from CV in supplies that says we're going to delete this channel shortly because we have the Google Doc about supplies.
CV, what are we doing? Well, CV's gone, no longer in this thread. Great question. Okay, well, I guess we're going back to food security then.
Sorry.
Okay, so do the same thing that I just said in
my
food security.
Thought was that if we have the doc, we don't need the. You can at me in the dispatch, or you can at me something. Like I'm on the server in other places. So if you were coming to my house to like pick up food, I think you could just post in the food security that you also need these other. And so I was thinking we could maybe get rid of a channel, and that could be nice. But if people want the channel, I mean, I don't care. I'm just trying to make everyone else's experience less cumbersome. So let me know what you all think. We can keep the channel for a while, and if we end up.
I think having like one channel, like I like the idea that you would do it at food security, and then food security would also have the supplies list, and you could check the supplies list there, just so it's in one place. And I don't have to worry about whether I should be adding food security and adding supplies, or just So I like the idea of it being just in food security. I just wanted to clarify and make sure I was going to the right place.
I gotta help with
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I mean, most of the supply stuff is functionally a food security issue, and if there's something physical you need, I can't really think of any other channel that would be delivering a physical object besides food security anyway. So I think that it would be totally fine to just ask me there, and that's my primary focus too. So I'll be checking that.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I haven't done any dispatches yet, but there was one request made in Spanish where she said she couldn't find toilet paper and disinfectant anywhere. If we could help with that, and also like powdered milk for her kid. I don't know if powdered milk like baby formula or what. But anyway, so let's say I'm 21. I don't know crap about baby formula, and also, would we buy people toilet paper? Like, let's say I have questions before I'm going to call this person. Where would I go to ask those questions?
I think you can just ask them in dispatch. I think there's a lot of people there.
Okay, so that would be like a dispatch thing and not a like supply or food security kind of question.
Yeah, I think for as much as possible, we want to keep like food secure, like those other channels, pretty open from conversation.
Okay.
So that when we say like I have a dispatch request, that it like it's not cluttered, you know. Yeah, but the dispatch channel is like specifically for coordinating dispatchers. So we've had pretty active conversation around like, what are we doing about this? And like, is this thing changing? And like, I have an idea. Can we add some of this information somewhere? So that's like a really good place if you have questions, clarification.
And you're like, I'm sorry. If you have a question, and you're like, I'm not sure, then please feel free to like just post it in the general chat. That's what it's there for. The general chat's there for general stuff. And so if you ever are like, hey, where would I put this? Or like, do we have this? Or can we do this? Just
And it's called organizing chat nowadays.
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows, like, if you mess up at some point, it's gonna be fine. Like,
I will confirm that. Yes.
Don't like aim for perfectionism in this whole process. Like, nobody expects you to do everything all the time correctly because we don't know what we're doing. It's also been working great. Like, we've actually been doing a really good job. So just don't get like too worried about like doing the wrong thing that you don't do anything. It's gonna be okay. Okay, so all right, you've made your call. You have coordinated with food security. You've coordinated with the deliverer. Then you would go back. I'm gonna go on that second page under Allison. Let's say I've typed some notes up. Blah blah blah. This is what I did. I'm dispatching it to nobody. This is a weird example. And then I would highlight Allison's and I would paint it in this like purple color because the delivery has been scheduled but is not complete yet. And that might not happen like immediately, right? Like you might post in food security like I'm looking for these supplies, or like you might just automatically contact delivery if you know that the supplies are there. So you might keep it as yellow for a little bit as you're waiting to hear back from a delivery driver, and then go ahead and call the next person. So then you move on to Tyler. Again, like search his name. Tyler's saying my work just closed until at least early April. I'm worried about where I'll get food and still have enough money to pay rent. And so some of the questions that you might talk to him about are this thing around like financial housing utilities assistance requests on that third page. So like, can you give us a basic overview? Have you already applied for unemployment? Just so you know, evictions have been paused, utilities will not get shut off, da, da, da. So you can go through some of that list. And so we're not doing funding for rent right now. You can use your best discretion to do financial direct cash contributions up to $100. Um, so like I had asked $50 for a woman who she was still trying to go to work, but her kids were out of school. And so she was taking them to her mom's house for childcare, but her mom lived in a different town, and so she literally didn't have money for gas to take them there. And so it was either like giving her $50 allowed her to keep her job and allowed her kids to go somewhere safe, and is like keeping things like fairly stable. Does that make sense to folks?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, I think
would money be given for groceries specifically?
So when we mark a line is light purple, who marks it to blue and when? Is it the person who does the delivery, or do they report back to?
I'm sorry, I got distracted and I missed your question because I'm a terrible person. Say that again.
So
or somebody else.
So after we mark a line to purple, like once it is completed, does it go to blue? And if so, who does it? Is it the person who does the delivery, or should we do that after they tell us that the delivery has been completed?
Oh, great question. Yeah, they should tell you. So usually the deliverers don't have access to the Google Doc. It's just dispatch at this time. So unless your delivery person is also a dispatch, they won't be able to access it. If you know it's been dropped off, then you change it to green. So request fulfilled. Yeah. So yeah, you do that.
And we would know when it's when the delivery person told us directly. Like how would we know?
Yeah, the delivery person should contact you when. So that said, don't change it green until you know that it's been dropped off. And so like okay. So I would say like you set aside 2 hours or an hour or 4 hours or whatever to do some dispatching. So the first thing that you might want to do is go on to the questions and next steps section and just make sure that nothing has changed. I had been trying to get people's emails to update you about like really major stuff that's shifting, because I know it can be hard to keep track of the dispatch channel. So number one, I would go into the questions and next steps, make sure that things are like basically the same. Second, go into contact notes and just review your past cases or people that you've talked to previously and kind of try to wrap them up. So before you call somebody new, go through folks that you've already been in contact with. So if it's yellow, try to figure out like, why is this yellow? And like, can I make sure that this is getting done? If there was a delivery scheduled and the deliverer hasn't contacted you, check in with them. Yeah, if it's white and you weren't able to get in touch with them last time, like try again. And that way we're not like forgetting folks in the process. And then once you've done that, then start with new people at the bottom of the list.
So on this list, starting at like line 203, there doesn't seem to be contact information. So is like 203 and on down all dark gray at this point?
No, we just have to directly copy paste the information from the other sheet. So just nobody has copied it over yet.
I got a question.
Yeah, if we could do 203 tonight, that would be awesome.
Quick question about like when we're calling people, like I'm a college student, so like my like conception of like what times are appropriate to call people is a little warped. So like, should we call people after 8 o'clock in the evening? Like when, like.
Yeah, that's a great question. Just briefly in terms of what time is reasonable, I would say between like 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. approximately. If you are somebody who has like really weird hours, you could also just try to do the email contacts then, and just be in touch with those people, and that would be awesome. Yeah, and then I think Oliver maybe said that you could do Spanish calls, which would be great. So if you, that's like why it's important to always go check on the first page. There have been just like a couple people who have written notes in Spanish. So we want to direct those to anybody who can do those calls in Spanish for folks.
Yep.
I can also help with Spanish calls.
Can
Who was
you
that?
just say your name?
Oh, that's Cade. Sorry, I can also help with Spanish call.
Well, okay, so Kate and Oliver. So if anybody is like doing a bunch of calls, you notice that someone needs, or if you're on the phone with somebody and you're like, hey, would you prefer to do this call in Spanish? Just like tag Kate and or Oliver and see if one of them are available to take it at some point.
I have a question. Sorry if this has like totally been done months ago and I don't know about it.
Months? You mean like literally one day?
No, this has been going on for a billion years. What are you talking about? Do the forms say in Spanish, like if you need? I don't know what the nicest way to say this is. If you want to answer in Spanish, go ahead. We have Spanish speakers in Spanish. Like at the description of the form.
I do not say that, but that might be a good suggestion.
So I was originally going to like work on making like a separate form that was Spanish, but be the best use of time. I think it would be cool if we could make it a bilingual, multilingual document, at least like so that people who like speak other languages speak other languages.
I think if we make the whole document bilingual in Spanish, just because of the proportion of the population that, besides English, they speak Spanish, and then we could have in other languages at the top, like if you need, speak Hmong or whatever, and we could have that, and I can talk to the interpreters that I work with about having those phrases in other languages at the top.
Tiffany, what did you said or suggested? I already forgot.
Oh, me?
Anthony. Sorry to cut you off, Annie. Yeah, Anthony had said something and we got. I think it's hard to say because we are so short on dispatchers right now. Yeah, I think we probably can use more delivery drivers. I don't think it's been. I think delivery has been keeping up better than dispatching has. Like we are like really, really behind on folks. And they keep coming in like faster, which is great. But like, yeah, as soon as folks can make calls, that will be very helpful. All right, we've been on this for kind of a long time. Does anybody have like final questions that you think are relevant to the whole group?
I have a question. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry if I missed this earlier, but if somebody, let's say like we're calling folks, should we be prioritizing by like their needs like that day? Is there like a way that we can set up like, oh, I can get these things by the end of the week and I'll be okay? Is there like a way that we're kind of like gauging the immediacy of these requests? Check.
As of right now, not really. I think there are some people who we haven't done any direct aid for. So some people have called, we've called some people and they're like, yeah, I'm actually fine. I'm just really worried. We might be like, cool, we have somebody who could call you every day for like emotional support. Would that be interesting to you? And sometimes it's just like talking to people about the resources that already exist in the community has been really helpful. So I think there's just like a lot of fear in being able to say, like, you will not get evicted, your utilities will not get shut off. Has been really useful for people. I've been prioritizing in terms of need. We're just like going down the list, and trying to be like as thoughtful as we can about resources, but also like, I don't know, not being stingy or like hung up on details about it.
Do extend an offer of money to someone like cash assistance. You make that specific request in finances and administration.
Yes. Yep. And you should tag CV and Eric. And there is somewhere. Yeah, there's a note, line 53 of that third page of our Google Doc. Make sure to coordinate money with the financial team. Eric has been doing PayPal at this point, and CV has been doing Venmo. But you want to just do it openly in that page so that the whole team kind of knows where money is going. So just like quick, like overview again. You're gonna, like, when you're doing calls, you're gonna want to open Corona responses. You want to keep Discord open, and have both the list of the Madison resources and supplies inventory open. Just go ahead, and if this is your first time, like, call the first person on that list who has never been contacted, and follow some of the scripts that are on that third tab. It should be, I hope, pretty clear, and I'm trying to keep that page updated as well as possible. And again, if you have like questions or like suggestions for how to make things better, take that into the dispatch thread and we can all kind of talk about it.